Okay, page 1. I confess I read this story very quickly before I came to the meeting. And I think it's very creative, but it's also kind of, it feels like we're really gushing. And it's a bit much for my taste, but anybody else had a chance to read it yet?
I read it.
Let me make a correction. Cabela's representative was watching our morning meeting and called the advertising department to correct my statement that they are not an advertiser. They are, in fact, going to be an advertiser. 6 figures. Good news.
Scott, any thoughts about the story?
Well, I think it's going to be one of the best read stories in the paper tomorrow. The way it was written was so fun and clever and just spot on, with the excitement that people who are inclined to go there are probably feeling. And admittedly, maybe it's just one, section of one cross section of our readership, but I'm kind of regretting now that. Never mind. I won't say it. I think it goes on page 1.
Yeah, I do too. It can run down page. I mean, we weren't gonna centerpiece with it, but it is a fun story. It's a big cross section of our readership. Judging by Sean Higgins' list of the things people like to do, who are our readers. So.
Well, I don't disagree with it as a topic out there, but and again, I need to go back and read it very carefully, but it was so kind of almost promotional in terms, with the various prices of items and all that. I mean, he could not have been more overwhelmed or impressed by it. And it just feels a bit
It is the wow factor story that we were talking about this morning. It's not a straight news story. So, and he didn't go into it thinking he was going to write that. So.
I think it reflects the reaction a lot of people will have to the store.
I mean, what if we gave it sort of a little more like column-like treatment or something? Put his mug on it or something.
Oh, that's I don't know.
Gary, I'm supposed to tell you I liked it.
You're supposed to tell me.
I told Pamela if she liked it, she should say so, because she's usually the cynical person.
Right.
So what if we gush? We occasionally gush in this business.
Well, we do, and not usually for retailers.
No, we do it for sports.
Yeah, what's your point?
Well, it is a sporting goods store.
It's more than that.
Allison,
the grand opening of Kohl's on
what,
it.
any new thoughts?
I haven't read it.
Yeah, and it's a bit unfair if you haven't read it.
Well, I did read it,
Carla.
and I happen to agree with Pamela, which may be stunning in and of itself. But I mean, he's written it from a very definite frame, and it's very effective writing for a reason, and I think it works. It's refreshing. I take a look at that lineup, and I think, my God, that'll be a relief after reading MRSA, Cop Rafe, and Craig Lawyer.
Yeah, that's a good point right there.
Yeah, and it's fun, and really, I guess I just feel like no harm, no foul. It's just fun. Very clever. Very cleverly done. But I also would be fine with it as a centerpiece on B1 if you want to go that route. It sounds like we have loose art on B1, so a centerpiece package certainly is better than that. But I think if part of what we want to do is give readers something different every day, or try to be surprising or refreshing, this will do it.
Well,
And either
it
way.
will still be as different and refreshing on 1B as it would be on 1A. And
Yeah.
certainly would get bigger play there.
I like it out there too, Gary. I think we need to have fun on page 1 as often as we can. And Cabela's has been on page 1 before. Remember, we had a massive Sunday package some months ago when it was announced, and we went down to Utah, I believe.
It was Christmas Day.
Yeah, and so we're not breaking new ground here.
Well, let me ask this. Carl, you've read it probably, I'm sure, you and Eddie both have read it more carefully than I have. Is there a way to tone down a little bit of the enthusiasm for it without damaging the creative feel of it?
Sure, but I think that goes back to the issue I raised this morning. I think you have to either take it for what it is or not, because I think it is really, I didn't really find it promotional, because I feel like he was adopting the persona in a way of this demographic group who is going to be
Right.
there. So it
Yeah.
was less about us promoting these $79.95 booths as it was really talking about the enthusiasm of this place, and this demographic group. So I didn't feel like, you know, it was crossing some sort of line. You could tone it down, but I think that would be a shame on this piece. And I think if it's better for you on B1, I'd love to preserve it the way it was envisioned on B1 than to change it, because it really is creatively done that way. And I just don't think you could force this story into a news frame.
Well,
Yeah.
and I don't disagree with you on
It
that.
does
I
have
did
some
this
breakout
morning.
information that gives it some context.
I'm not suggesting that the way to make me more comfortable with this is to bring that news frame to, because I agree with you. It's either a horse or a cow. It
Yeah,
can't be.
right.
you know.
Yeah, I mean, we could do anything we wanted to it, but I personally think that would be too bad.
Well, I gotta tell you, I would be much more comfortable with it as a centerpiece on the RV. I still think that's very good play and feels more appropriate to me. So.
We do have a B1 centerpiece already, so maybe we need to again consider it for A1 in Idaho.
If I could weigh in, I read it more carefully than Gary, because I had more time with it. You're right, it's not a cow, it can't be a horse and a cow, it's one or the other. If this were the opening day story and we had the voices of wildly enthusiastic customers in there, I'd feel better about that. But this was the staged for media event by a big retailer. It's a PR event. It is awfully promotional. It could have been written by their publicist. It's wonderfully written, but there's not an ounce of restraint to it. I mean, it is, you gotta see this, you gotta buy this, and when you're hungry, you gotta go to this place and have a venison bratwurst. I just don't feel comfortable with it on page one either.
Well then, you know, and that's fine, I totally
Yeah.
respect that. Then I think the honest thing to do is not to run the story at all, because moving it isn't gonna change that.
Well, I understand that.
It won't.
I understand that.
So I think, you know, if you would feel comfortable about it as an opening day piece, then I think you just wait.
Yeah,
You know?
The part that makes me feel better about opening day is that we would have real voices in there. You know, I think it's one thing to talk to Hunter Dans who are Hunter Dans as opposed to adopting the persona of a Hunter Dan, kind of the symbol of the store, and letting that person sell the product. This is a tough one. There's nothing easy about this. But I was making a comment on monetizing content the other day, and it strikes me that this can be perceived as monetized content even though it's not, you know?
Or it can be appreciated by the people who will appreciate the, you know, the approach and the
good
writing, and you know, it is creative writing. It's not a news story. It's creative writing,
Yeah.
and it can connect with a large group of our readers.
Yeah.
Steve, I think Dan's voice is very real. I think he's writing better with authority. I think what he's done is a lot more, frankly, has more credibility than just some Joe Blow off the street.
Really, I mean, honestly, the opening day story is going to be, I think, boring. It's going to be a bunch of people standing around saying, "Wow," you know, it's just Joe Schmo, you know,
Well, it kind of raises
trying
the
on
question
boots.
of, do you send somebody that has a passion for a topic, or do you purposefully not send somebody that has a passion for a topic and an interest in being more objective? You know, I mean, I think you send the person that has the passion for the topic because it's going to be a more interesting story.
Well, do me a favor. Let's match this up against the value statement. You know, let's use the values and match it up. Does it reflect the life of our community in wholeness and complexity?
Yeah,
Does it?
a certain segment of our community, absolutely.
Sure. Okay. Telling people what we know when we know it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
happened
If
today.
we run it tomorrow, we will.
smart ass. I mean, what else might apply off of?
See, does this bother you because it was a media event? Is that what really
Well,
bothers you?
yeah, that's part of it. I mean, that is part of it. This was set up for television. You know, we tag along, but it's mostly, I think, for TV. TV stations have already posted content which is just shameless. And, you know, I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, we've always tried to take a higher road on the commercialization of our journalism. And I value what he's done. I value his language. I think it's a wonderful piece of writing. But there's just not an ounce to it that isn't, you know, pretty much out there promotional. I mean, the whole way he phrases these things is, it's like the text of a Coldwater Creek catalog.
But you know what? Your friend David Elton would probably say
My
Al
friend.
Sharpton is a media event.
Thank you for that, Pamela.
Well, you know, we've talked a little bit about this morning, and you know, I respectfully disagree in terms of my concern about whether this is a manufactured event or not. We do that on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
We cover something. How many stories do we write off of press releases?
Yeah.
That's about as manufactured as you can possibly get.
You're right.
So,
Each of you has your own concern, and location isn't gonna mitigate either one of those.
Well-
The story will still be.
I'm not sure I agree with that, Carla, because I think
It'll
we
still
do
be
make
promotional.
Well, it will be, but we make a statement.
make a big
when,
statement.
when we put things on the most important page of the paper
We
every
do,
day
but I also
and put
think-
other stuff elsewhere.
Yeah, that's true, but I think that we're much more sensitive to that than readers.
Well, what's going to happen if we run this on page 1 tomorrow? What's the worst thing that happens?
Well, you'll get every other outdoors retailer, you know.
Thank you for helping, Tom.
G.I. Joe.
Yes, will.
Yeah, of course you will.
Yeah,
You're right.
probably,
Are
but the
they- are they-
upside is, we may capture a few readers who stick with the paper. I mean, look at that lineup otherwise, all great stories, but very intense.
Fires, disease, rape, and sexual
And
deviancy.
if you take Cabela's off, I'm guessing we're gonna try to argue wildfires out there. Very important story, but we had that today. That's not here. Cabela's is here. What are they're saying 50,000 people over the opening weekend or something like that?
15,000 a day.
15,000 a day over the opening weekend. I mean, that's local, not wildfire. So, you know, I mean, I think do we want to engage readers or not?
I'll concede. I'll ask Carla to write something for my blog, and be there tomorrow
Me
to.
defending an outdoor store.
Yes, it's got credibility, Carla. I mean, I'll.
Why don't I made this point before. I mean, why don't we give it more of a column approach? If it's that much of a point of view, and it sounds like it is, it's somebody's real distinct point of view, give it more of a column approach. And you know, we don't, and I would say we don't run columns on the front page typically, and maybe there's
We do sometimes.
occasionally, or you know, maybe it's a big piece of the Sunday outdoors section or something. And find a place that feels better to run it if that's what it is.
What do y'all feel about a column approach?
Well, Tom, I think that's a legitimate suggestion, and I know you're trying to look for solutions, but I mean, as a longtime reporter and writer, there's a big difference in how I write even a creative story as opposed to a column. And so to have something all of a sudden at the afternoon meeting turned into a column that wasn't written as a column would probably not go over so well.
What about an editor's note that says, you know,
The following is shameless retail promotion.
You know, avid outdoorsman and hunter.
I mean, that says, you know, we didn't know what to do when we were only given the option of a media day. You know, we kind of felt like we had, I don't know, something along those lines.
Yeah,
It
it's
says,
previewed it.
you know,
We had the
let
knowledge.
people know the situation that we were
I don't
faced
think
with.
we
and,
should
you know,
if we feel like we need to put a disclaimer on a story, then we shouldn't be running the story. We either
Right.
run it,
That's right. I think you either have to embrace it or not.
Parental advisory. The following story
Some people
references
didn't
dead
think we
stuffed
should put
animals.
this out here, just so you know.
And I mean, as to the sporting goods argument, we have run the sporting goods story, the retail landscape of the sporting goods industry before, and we're doing it again tomorrow because of this concern. You know, we're not not putting it on the front page, but we have touched on this topic before, so I would argue that doesn't belong out there because of that. I mean, the novelty is this behemoth opening in our region, period.
I'm willing to go bottom of page 1 if you're willing to go bottom of page 1. Take tomorrow off.